I love you. I'm a modern day Mission Impossible fan and I started watching these films ever since the cinema back where I'm from in Nigeria didn't allow me to watch Mission Impossible Fallout because apparently the movie was rated 18. And Dead Reckoning Part 1 is coming out next week, so what better time would it be to talk about the first three. But before Tom Cruise was riding bikes off mountains and swapping faces, I'm sure most of you know that the Mission Impossible movies are based on or were influenced by the TV show that got released in the late 90s. Yeah, there was one that came out in 66, but see, I'm not gonna watch that because if I watch that, my eyes will actually bleed. But yeah, that's what I did. I watched the pilot of the reboot that came out in 88, and I watched this with no expectations, only knowing that this was a Mission Impossible TV show and that Phil Morris was in it. HBO, I'm crying, please release the final episode of Doom Patrol, or I mean Max, just release those episodes, okay? But back to the pilot, which is just simple in the storytelling. Bad assassin, let's get him. And the episode is fun. Like, I would see, it's a fun episode. It's fun in the sense that this is a script that I feel like I could have written something like this in high school. Could have been down to the writer's strike, but it makes me feel like this show is something that I could have loved as a kid because it reminds me a lot of Special Agent Cody Banks. But overall, it was a fun watch, and I guess Tom Cruise found it fun too because it made him produce his first film. Mission Impossible, which is top 3 in my rankings for films in this franchise. It's just a great film, especially for its time, made scenes that will always be remembered and super iconic, and also made Tom Cruise a movie star. Let's be honest, this was that movie. The film is also real for most of it because it is, apart from like that final sequence, the whole bit was a mess there and actually made me nauseous. But before that, this film just beautiful to visually to watch and very appealing. But yeah, speaking of some of the practical stuff, the masks, I know it's 1996, but those parts don't really hold up well because it's either in the lines of Tom Cruise is basically this dude but with a couple of prosthetics and a mustache, or some of the good ones like the one at the end, he has to sit really still and at a particular angle just so he can be fooled by this trickery. But it's ridiculous how you think she's part of this whole IMF thing, but she could still fall for the baloney that these masks aren't that great with, you know? Something I loved about this film, back to the positives, which I noticed is that this is just a really good spy film. Okay, apart from the part where Tom is just like sending random emails to some people, just imagine your average father Thomas just sitting down checking his emails back in 1996 and sees the complete rubbish that Tom was just sending to these guys. But apart from that, he's a rogue or ghost operative, which he does like 10 times in the other films. And here he gets lucky with the whole email thing. But the breaking into Langley with the fireman suits, the part in the UK when he calls the IMF, even in the train, the whole switcheroo, everything is done so well. I'm no operative, I'm no FBI agent, I don't know how accurate it is. But especially compared to the next film, I feel like he was a really good spy operative. Especially when you consider that he never even shot a gun in this film. Like, even this film only had like 2 bullet shots and it was the bad guy. But yeah, at the end of the day, this was a huge success from Tom Cruise and set the way for more to come in the next films. Then Mission Impossible 2. I don't really like to hate on movies anymore, but this movie is just horrible. It's not that good. I remember watching Face Off and just thinking to myself, especially in that boat scene. That boat scene in particular. I was like, this has to be the same guy that directed Mission Impossible 2. That just came to my mind out of the blue in that scene. And yeah, it is. It's the same guy. This film is easily the worst in the series. Like, I don't want to hate it. I really don't want to hate it. But it didn't even have like a Mission Impossible scene. Yeah, I like to call those scenes that like you do see the stunts and all of that Mission Impossibles. But it didn't have an original one. It just copied the one from the last film. Not a lot to love about this film. Tom Cruise's twin, Sean Ambrose, easily the worst villain out of all the 6 movies. And Anthony Hopkins' character in particular is just evil. How can you say that?
But to go to bed with a man and lie to him, she's a woman. She's got all the training she needs.
Justice for Thandi Newton. She was just bullied around in this film throughout. Oh my goodness. Okay, I know it doesn't justify it, but she was an idiot in the movie. Like, I'm pretty sure that the basic thing that they told her was there will be no contact when she's in that villa. I think they mentioned that in the movie. But that dude just plays Tom Cruise and she falls for it. But even though, like, okay, I'll put the blame on the IMF too. Like, don't you think that the one thing you could have warned them about is the fact that they can just change their appearance? But see, both of them, the Tom and his gang, and she, just idiots, both of them. But something I love about the film, Ving Rhames is back, not involved in it as much, but I liked him in the previous one. I forgot to even mention that, and he's back for this one. I love that, and I think that's just about it. Oh, and it's funny, I watched this movie in the start of 2020, and it's about, like a virus, and they're making a vaccine to like make money off the virus that they're making. I don't know. I thought that made me think that the whole COVID thing at the start was just like a weird conspiracy to, sell vaccines. Now moving on to Mission Impossible 3. This one was actually one that I hated too at the time because I watched this and Mission Impossible 2 back to back. So I feel like Mission Impossible 2 poisoned my mind going into it back then. But on a rewatch, I love this film way more now. Found out before that J.J. Abrams got the job as director and David Fincher was on the list prior, which just pains me. I've never mentioned this before on the channel, but David Fincher is one of my favorite directors of all time, but I move on. Aaron Paul is also in this movie and I burst out laughing when I saw him in this. But you know how I mentioned that one is like the best spy film I have seen, like one of the best spy films I have seen. This is also a really, really good spy film. Everything just felt more technical, like the bit where they rescued that girl was all planned out. Even the infiltration in the Vatican, which is one of the best infiltration scenes in like all of the movies in this series. Lawrence Fishburne is also in this, took the job from Anthony Hopkins. That happens a lot in this series. But I'm not surprised that he took Anthony Hopkins' job. Anthony Hopkins probably got sacked after like a bunch of HR reports on him. But it's crazy how him, Lawrence Fishburne, and Tom are like virtually the same age. You will not notice. And on the talk of characters, we also got Simon Pegg. This was where he was introduced. Not a super huge role, but he was super fun in this. And also Ethan Hunt's wife, Tom Cruise's character's wife. And she was also introduced, and that marriage scene when like he gets the lollipop rings and everything just lives rent free in my head. Crazy that Steve Seymour Hoffman is dead. Was easily one of the best villains in the entire series, let alone the trilogy. But love him. I didn't really like him first viewing also, but on second viewing I loved it. But there's no competition that this is better than 2. But makes it super weird to rank now because I love each and every other film. And also that girl, the way she died, I forgot to mention this. That girl, the way she died, I don't know, it reminded me of the toad from Flushed Away. So random, but that's what it just reminded me of. The way she died and her eyes just bleh. Yeah, but that just wraps it up for this video. I thought it would be shorter than it is, but it is what it is. And I also apologize for some clips that weren't like really good quality. Yeah, the TV show parts were not the easiest to come across, and also Mission Impossible 2 was really hard to find high quality clips for some weird reason. I need you guys to communicate ways that I can make the videos better, like things you like, things you don't like, because I'm just trying to pump out the best content that I possibly can. So yeah, and like I'll hopefully have a Dead Reckoning Part 1 review out as soon as possible, and thank you for watching. See you then. Bye.